Guys, today we're checking out the DJI Mini 3 here. It finally came here, and yes, I'm late to the party as usual, but I thought we'd do a quick unboxing and talk a little bit about why I decided to buy this thing, even though I own the Mini 2. And it's not just so I can make $6 on YouTube doing an unboxing video, not at all. So let's dive in and check this thing out. We'll do it, as reasonably quick as I can, so to save time here. But I think honestly that this is going to be probably the best-selling lens of the next few years, easily. And I think it's going to be a lot better selling than even the Mini 2, which really changed everything, because of course our restrictions and regulations and stuff are getting kind of crazy depending on where you live. Here in Canada, it's kind of a nightmare. So having a drone for me under 249 grams is going to be the deal. It's going to be a necessity at this point. So I don't want to go out and spend a bunch of money and time getting a license. I don't fly drones professionally. I do it for the channel, for fun, for vacations, for, just for the hobby. I think it's a really cool thing. And this guy just offered so much more over the Mini 2, things that you might not even consider. And then they just went ahead and threw in the addition of 10-bit color, which is just fantastic and something I really didn't expect out of the Mini 3, but they did throw Pro in there. So if you are going to use this thing or attempt to use it professionally, 10-bit color is kind of a must for me. So I decided to go with the Mini 3 version with the LCD controller here, and you got the screen built into the controller, which is really cool. So you don't have to utilize your phone, which can be kind of a nightmare sometimes, and you're getting calls and it's disconnecting, and it's charging battery. It's just kind of been a little bit of a downside for me in my drone uses over the years. So having something that's completely integrated that you can just throw in your pocket and whip it out and still have access to your phone, I think that's just fantastic. And a little bit of extra money for that guy for sure, but I think for what they were charging, I think it was absolutely completely reasonable. Anyways, as you can see here, I did not go with the Fly More combo. A little bit disappointed to see that just how they kind of did it, and this is by no means a cheap drone. So we come to the question, maybe do you invest in the Mini 2 as your first drone, or do you just splurge and go for this thing? And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today as well. But let's crack this thing open and see what we get in here and what it all looks like. I'm excited to see how physically it compares to the Mini 2, which is kind of neat because, of course, that one was really small as well. But this thing just has a ton more features. It's got a bigger sensor. It's got sensors for obstacle avoidance. It's got lots of stuff that the Mini 2 does not have. And so how do you pack all that stuff into basically the same weight without sacrificing a lot? And yeah, I think DJI has done a great job in that from what I've seen so far. There's just some phenomenal footage out there. This thing can absolutely be used as a professional drone. But now let's stop talking and check this thing out for a second. Okay, let's open her up and see what we actually get here in this particular version of our non-Fly More combo kit. And I will say that I will probably go ahead and pick up the Fly More combo on its own. I just wanted to talk a bit about the battery choices that we have. So right off the bat here, we've got the drone itself, and looking pretty small. It does feel and look a little bit bigger than the Mini 2, and I'll grab that so we can see a little bit of a comparison difference. But yeah, man, that thing is still just so fantastically small, and it looks good. It's got a pretty insane cover here for the gimbal, but just never ceases to amaze me just the overall weight of these things and how they can pack so much into a drone like this. So let's open her up and see what it looks like extended. It does open a little bit differently than the last iteration, but yeah, still completely fine size for me. You can still fit it in your pocket. You can still throw it in your bag, and it's not going to be a burden. Of course, it's just so light. But being light, you'd think that it would be super fragile. But my Mini 2 has taken a couple spills, and I got to say the thing held up fantastically. So there's the drone. What else actually comes in the box here? Well, we've got our awesome controller here. Let's go ahead and open that up, see what we got. Oh man, that looks good. You know what? It is big. it is bigger, and that's definitely a drawback of the other one. It's going to be, the footprint is going to be overall bigger than the drone when it's folded, of course. But yeah, still reasonable. You got your phone and you got your thing, so it's your phone and a controller in one. Look on the back here, we've got our little knobbies. And I've heard people say it before, and I would like to see that those knobs be integrated into the controller one day, maybe a folding mechanism or something like that. But it does look very good, and it feels really good. It's not overly hugely ergonomic. You know, there's no finger holes or anything like that. We've got 2 custom buttons on the bottom side. You know what, let's throw those on and see how those feel. Oops. And I wonder if we actually got some spares of those. This is metal, and it is going into metal, which is great. It feels like there's going to be some quality there. I did worry about some of the plastic, you know, over time, screwing those in on the old stuff, that it would wear and you'd have to replace it. But yeah, you know what, that feels pretty good. It's not the best thing I've ever felt, for sure, but it's going to do the job for sure. As far as buttons on the front, you've got your cine mode, your N, which can't remember what N stands for, but that's the normal. Oh, of course it is normal mode. Oh my goodness. And we've got our sport mode, which is going to be your fastest mode there. You've got your return to home button, and I'm guessing a pause button so you can freeze it in place, and your power button, of course. So on the top, we've got our photo button there, and we've got a record button, so that's really nice. And we've got 2 wheels basically to control our gimbal and whatnot, and I'm not sure what the other one does, maybe the zoom. Of course, here we've got our antennas integrated as well, and it looks like a little speaker there. We do have some heat sink over here, it looks like, to keep this thing relatively cool. And here on the bottom, we've got a USB Type-C, obviously for charging, I'm assuming. And down here, we've got an SD card again, so hopefully we can record our screen, which would be pretty cool, and another USB Type-C as well. So I'm going to check that out. This says host, and this says micro SD. So we'll get into that and see a little bit more about what that looks like later. We also have a couple little mounting screws here for something, maybe a cage or what have you. That'll be interesting to figure out as well. So there's the controller. Looks pretty good, feels pretty good. What else is in the box? We have got a box within a box, and in that box we've got, of course, a USB Type-C cable included, which is nice, and hopefully other USB Type-C cables work as well. And we've got some props as well here, so some replacement props, just 2, and looks like a little bit of paperwork, and this is going to be a little screwdriver for your props and adjustments and whatnot. And that's going to be it. That's all you get in the box of this guy. So yeah, pretty much everything you need, nothing you don't, I'm assuming. It clearly doesn't come with a charger. You're going to have to buy the Fly More combo to get the charger. And let's touch on the batteries really quickly here. And here we are with the drone and the controller once more. And I wanted to touch on the batteries a little bit of this guy, because there are actually 2 options. And one of them is your typical battery, which apparently gets about 34 minutes of battery life. And that's pretty comparable to the Mini 2. The Mini 2, you know, does get great battery life. This thing is just extended, and there is an option to of course, grab your bigger, better plus batteries, which does give you up to 47 minutes of perfect, ideal condition flight time, but it does come at the cost of throwing this thing over the weight limit of 249 grams. So for people that have a license, this is not a big deal, but for people who don't have a license or have a license that doesn't cover you to fly something over 249 grams, that is going to be an issue. So here in Canada, it's not a big deal unless you're flying in controlled airspace, and people around the coast and whatnot, that is going to be an issue a lot of the time. So do consider that. You do get the normal battery that does come with the drone, of course, that's going to be good for your regular flight time, and it's going to keep you under 249 grams. But if you wanted to pick up some, maybe you're flying sometimes where you can get away with a heavier drone, well, then you have that option. So that's kind of why I put the brakes on, to really think about what I'm going to be doing with this thing, where I'm going to be flying it. and I really just am undecided. So I'm gonna see how this thing does. I know it's kind of a pain to have one battery, but also at the time of ordering this, if I did go with the Fly More combo, it would have taken a lot longer to get here because they're back ordered, of course. So overall, it looks pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with the quality of it. It does feel like an upgrade, definitely over the Mini 2. Of course, the Mini 2 does have some advantages. Mainly, it's a lot cheaper these days, especially with the Mini 3 coming out. This thing is going to be on sale all the time. You're going to be able to, they're going to be flooded online, used. So there's that to consider. So what are my thoughts if you should buy this over the Mini 2? Well, if it's your very, very first drone and well, if you don't edit a lot of video, if you don't know a thing about editing, you just want to get it up there and fly it and see what happens kind of thing, I would say go with the Mini 2. And that's just because there's a lot more than just flying in this thing to get some great looking footage. You need an editing rig, and you need some programs to get the most out of it, especially if you're going to do and look into 10-bit color and whatnot. There's a lot of things and know-how behind the scenes. But if you just want to throw this thing up, get some cool photos, get a little bit of video with your family and whatnot, I think the Mini 2 is just a fantastic option, and it's going to be a great budget option. But if you do have the know-how, if this is not your first drone, I think for the weight class and everything, this is definitely what you're looking for. But if the weight does not matter, maybe consider the Air 2S, which is going to be a much better drone overall, just heavier. So there you go, guys. There's my initial thoughts on this thing. I'm going to take this thing and go flying right now. It is the perfect day for it. Doesn't look like there's a lot of wind out there, so I'm going to get going. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, and your questions down below. Of course, I'm going to do a review on this thing, some videos overall. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll do my best to accommodate. If you want to pick this thing up, check out the affiliate links down in the description for you. Really appreciate that. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.